It all started with the smallest things. My husband, Daniel, was suddenly staying late at work, guarding his phone like it was gold, and disappearing on weekends with excuses that never added up. I wanted to believe he was just busy, that I was overthinking. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. What I didn't expect was that behind all those lies, Daniel wasn't just hiding an affair, he was hiding an entire family. And soon, his carefully constructed double life began to crack. Daniel's excuses started out small, almost unnoticeable, the kind of things you brush aside when you trust someone. He began working late nights more often, claiming projects at the office were piling up. At first, I believed him. After all, he had always been a hard worker. But soon, the late nights turned into entire weekends where he was unreachable, his phone either dead or mysteriously switched off. When he was home, his attention was glued to his phone, screen tilted away from me, fingers moving quickly before the device vanished into his pocket the moment I walked in. I tried to silence the voice in my head telling me something wasn't right. When I asked gentle questions, Daniel would chuckle, pat my hand, and tell me I was being paranoid. "You've been watching too many dramas," he'd say with a grin that never reached his eyes. His words made me doubt myself. Was I really imagining things? Was my marriage, the life we'd built together, as stable as I thought? The inner conflict ate at me. I wanted to trust him, but every unanswered call, every vague explanation, left me more unsettled. My heart told me the truth, but my mind kept fighting to protect the image of the man I married. Then came the moment I could no longer deny it. One evening, while folding laundry, I noticed a crumpled receipt in his jacket pocket. It wasn't from a business dinner or a late-night takeout. It was from a family restaurant, 2 full meals, a child's plate, and dessert. The date and time matched one of his supposed work nights. My hands shook as I stared at it. For the first time, I had undeniable proof that Daniel was living a life I knew nothing about. That receipt gnawed at me for days. I told myself there had to be an explanation, but deep down I knew it was the crack in Daniel's perfect facade. I started paying closer attention, not because I wanted to catch him, but because I couldn't live with the constant doubt. One night, when his phone buzzed on the counter while he was in the shower, I froze. The name on the screen wasn't anyone I knew. My heart pounded as I opened the message. "The kids are asking when you'll be home. Don't be late again." My world tilted. Kids? We only had one child together, and she was asleep in her room upstairs. My hands trembled as I scrolled through more messages, pictures of Daniel smiling with 2 children I had never seen before, a woman beside him who looked like she had known him for years. Their faces weren't just familiar with him, they were family. I couldn't breathe. My mind raced with questions, anger, and a betrayal so sharp it left me dizzy. That night, when Daniel came home and casually tossed his jacket on the chair, I confronted him. The words poured out, raw and shaking. "Who are they, Daniel? Who are those children?" For a second, he tried to laugh it off, his old tactic. But when I shoved the phone in his face, his smile vanished. He didn't even try to deny it. With a heavy sigh, he whispered, "It's not what you think." But it was worse. Just 30 minutes away, Daniel had been living another life. A house. A woman. 2 children who called him Dad. My heart shattered as I realized my husband hadn't just betrayed me, he had built an entire second family, and I was the outsider. The silence after my question was deafening. Daniel stood frozen, his face pale, lips parting as if searching for words that didn't exist. When I pressed again, demanding the truth, his tone snapped sharp, defensive. "You shouldn't be going through my phone. That's private," he barked, as if I were the one who had crossed a line. The anger in his voice only fueled mine. "Private? Those kids called you Dad, Daniel. How long were you planning to keep this from me? Forever?" My voice cracked, a mix of rage and heartbreak. He paced the room, hands tugging at his hair. "It's complicated. You don't understand. I never wanted it to come out this way. His excuses spilled, each weaker than the last. He tried to paint himself as trapped, as though his lies were somehow noble, done to protect me. But then, in a moment of exhaustion or surrender, he sat down heavily and muttered, "Yes. It's true. I have another family." The words sliced through me like glass. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Years of love, trust, and memories collapsed in an instant. My knees buckled, and I gripped the table just to stay upright. Tears blurred my vision, but I could still see the man I thought I knew, the man I married, staring back at me like a stranger. All I could manage to whisper was, "How could you do this to us?" And for once, Daniel had no answer. The days that followed felt like living inside a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Every corner of the house echoed with betrayal, his shoes by the door, his coffee mug on the counter, all mocking reminders of the life I thought we shared. Emotionally, I was hollow. Sleep abandoned me, food lost its taste, and every time I looked at our daughter, I fought back tears. How could I explain to her that the father she adored had another set of children calling him the same name? When I confided in my closest friend, she gasped in disbelief, anger flashing across her face. "You deserve better than this," she said, her words a lifeline in the storm. My parents were devastated, their disappointment in Daniel palpable, but their heartbreak for me even greater. News spread quietly through our circle, each whisper another cut to my pride. Meanwhile, the cracks in Daniel's double life widened. He shuffled between our home and theirs, spinning excuses so thin they collapsed under the weight of reality. Our daughter noticed the tension, tugging at my sleeve and asking, "Mommy, why is Daddy so angry all the time?" I couldn't bring myself to answer. Daniel thought he could balance both worlds, but it was impossible. Missed birthdays, broken promises, and mounting lies left everyone bitter. The careful mask he wore slipped, and soon, it was clear, both families were beginning to see him for what he truly was, a man drowning in his own deception. The collapse came faster than even I expected. One Saturday afternoon, while Daniel was supposed to be working, fate decided his lies had stretched far enough. At a local park, our daughter and I ran into a woman with 2 children, faces I instantly recognized from the photos on his phone. Her eyes widened in shock, and in that silent moment, everything connected. Words weren't needed, we both knew. What followed was chaos. She confronted Daniel later that evening, the same way I had weeks before, but this time there was no hiding. His 2 worlds collided head-on, with both families demanding answers. Neighbors overheard the shouting, and soon the story spread beyond our homes. The man who had once been respected in our community was suddenly the subject of scandalous whispers. Daniel's carefully constructed facade disintegrated. His reputation at work faltered, his friends distanced themselves, and in the wreckage, he stood alone. Neither of us women wanted him anymore. We had both been betrayed, deceived, and left with scars we never asked for. His lies hadn't lasted forever. They burned out in the open, leaving him with nothing but the ashes of the families he had destroyed. In the end, Daniel's lies couldn't survive the truth. He thought he could build 2 lives and keep them both, but instead, he lost everything. I walked away from the wreckage stronger, no longer willing to settle for half-truths or broken promises. The other woman, too, left him when she realized she had been deceived just as much as I had. And Daniel? He was left with no family at all, only the memory of the 2 homes he had once tried to keep. Sometimes, lies collapse louder than the truth ever could.